access which ultimately helped it to reach a good base of customers. And suddenly we find a brand like Xiaomi, which is suddenly in great demand. As a consumer, how do I perceive a brand while buying a product?
Good question. I mean, LG took 4 or 5 years. People had lost faith in the brand, and they now are starting to look good. And then out comes one brand, a Xiaomi, out of nowhere. Nobody had heard of them. They're taken to be this huge brand. So how do you perceive brands now?
You know, brands take a long time to build up usually, and it's not very difficult to kill them. A few products is all it takes, maybe 1 or 2. Xiaomi is kind of exceptional. They've done a lot of things together. They have a great product. They've been able to do the outreach with that product well, and this tie-up worked very well. But this is something people will soon get disenchanted with, just, you know, that part of the hype. There's other things they'll discover, such as service, etc. You look at a company like MicroMax, they took a longish time. They did a lot of investment, IPL, ads, and all of that. There was a lot of struggle after that in terms of service. So brands are still very important, and, you know, there's really nothing to beat the build-up cycle and work that goes into the brand.
Okay, so for the other 3, I'm going to change the question around. If somebody was to ask you brand or specs, which
for me, I'll say specs value more.
Brand or specs? What's a higher value?
It would have to be a bit of a...
You have to take one.
Specs.
Always the specification.
Always specs.
Yeah, because the idea.
So basically saying that brands have lost a tremendous, in the mobile phone industry maybe, you could really just kill it on specs.
No, but see, that's another thing, is the educated customer is going to go for specs. When I bought my Nexus 4, I bought it for the specs. But when I went out...
Look how he puts it. Educated customer, and when I. Very smart. Okay.
No, but this is a really funny thing, is one of my very close friends is a banker, and I went out for dinner with him, and my phone rang, and he says, "Tu LG ka phone use kar raha hai?" Because he wasn't aware what Nexus is, the specs, etc. So it is the customer who's going to research into a phone and say, hey, you know what, this is how this works, so probably it's going to be right. Coming to the question that he put it forth, in 2010, the budget phones really, were really crappy. And LG made a lot of budget phones. Their high-end phones still were great, but they had a backlog of really, really crappy budget phones. Today, the budget phones, like we discussed in the previous episode, have such standardized specifications that no matter what the brand, if you just hide the brand, they're all going to be very similar.
Okay, we'll go in for, I think we have time for 1 or 2 more questions. I'll go with you.
I'm Arindam Datta, and I have a question regarding promotion. Does it really add value to a company having an international icon as a brand ambassador like MicroMax? Like we all know that they get heavily paid for those ads, but does it really add value to the company itself in promoting?
Okay, so before anybody else answers this question, I want to do a quick poll. Before Hugh Jackman became the brand ambassador for MicroMax, or before you saw Katrina Kaif take a Sony Ericsson phone and start washing it under a tap, did it make a difference? I mean, did you start thinking of those who think they now